Inner confidence is what earns us trust, respect, and opportunity.
What are your thoughts and recommendations on how women, especially young women, should be showing up in the workplace?
I hear women saying, I don't care what people think, or I don't care how I dress, or they shouldn't look at me. Your choice, if you want to grow or level up in your business, in any career, I don't care what it is, you better take a look at how you are showing up. Your presence speaks way before you open up your mouth.
I believe we all have gifts. Our purpose in the world is to birth our gifts into the world.
Be who you are. If you're goofy, be goofy. If you are a jokester, be a jokester.
What are some of the biggest ways women unintentionally shrink back down or downplay their value in leadership and business?
Welcome to the Leadership and Love podcast. We will cover leadership, mindset, personal development, and sales and marketing. You will experience thought-provoking conversations with both nationally and internationally recognized leaders. Our goal is to inspire you and deliver actionable items that you can implement that are going to help you accelerate your growth. Get ready to discover the magic and the power when you lead with love.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of Leadership and Love. I have a very good friend of mine who I've met actually through some networking events, Dawn, who's going to be our guest today. And what I'm going to do is I want to jump right into her introduction. And Dawn's just been an amazing person to get to know. And I thought she would be just an ideal guest because one of her strengths is leadership. So Dawn Stebbing is the voice and visibility strategist and trusted coach to high-achieving women, professionals, and entrepreneurs featured on CBS News and in the Minneapolis Star Tribune. With decades of experience in direct sales, she has taught hundreds of entrepreneurs how to build successful businesses and guide the career growth of professionals in banking, law, and Fortune 500 companies. Today, Dawn empowers women through relationship-based sales, personal branding, and integrity, I love this, and integrity-driven leadership, helping them show up with unshakable confidence and a presence that commands respect. She lives in Mesa, Arizona with her husband, Mark, and their beloved dog, Jade. So welcome to the episode, and thanks for coming, Dawn.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Well, and we're excited to have you. So I want to jump right into it. So one of the things that you specialize and talk about is integrity-driven leadership, which is really a very powerful word. I think that a lot of people don't really live into. You know, it's one of those things that's easy to say, but harder to do. One of the things I'd like to ask you is, you often say visibility is the new currency of leadership. What does that mean, and why is it so critical for women specifically today?
Yes. I love the way you started with that word integrity, Louie. That is huge in today's world, more so than ever before. And I think it's a strong word for me, and I use it a lot when I'm teaching. But when you ask the question about the new currency of leadership, visibility is no longer an option for women. It's essential. We need to show up. You can be the most powerful, educated woman out there today, but if you are not seen, heard, or show up and use your voice in a way that people can see you, you are losing everything. You're not gaining from other people. You're not gaining experience. You're not gaining anything from that. We want you to use your voice in a way that's heard, and you're missing out. And actually your audience is missing out on you. Put it that way, because you have a gift that you can share with other people. And those are your strengths. Our strengths is our currency. Our strengths is what helps us grow in today's world. The way we show up, our presence, our voice, and our confidence is what earns us trust, respect, and opportunity.
Yeah, that's very powerful. And I'd like you so I'd like to lead that to my follow-up question. How would you recommend, and because I think this is really, really important, right? I was just in a conversation recently. A lot of women, especially a lot of young women, are dressing in a way that's not conducive to professionalism or business, right? And if you want to be taken seriously especially in the business world, you really need to show up like you're talking about. What are your thoughts and recommendations on how women, especially young women, should be showing up in the workplace?
I just wrote a newsletter that'll be coming out next week on this, because that was a great question. It just kind of goes to show that I'm right on topic with you here. But today, I hear this a lot. I hear women saying, I don't care what people think, or I don't care how I dress, or they shouldn't look at me, or maybe, I've got talent. Why should what I be wearing make a difference? And I want you to think of this is those words, I don't care, you do care. Because when you say those words, I don't care, that is a trigger for you do care. Why would you even say those words? You're thinking about it. You either don't know how to dress appropriately, or you choose not to. But let me change this. Your choice, if you want to grow or level up in your business, in any career, I don't care what it is, you better take a look at how you are showing up. Your presence speaks way before you open up your mouth. And that is the first thing that we see, is how you look. And if you're not looking appropriately with how you want to present yourself and your accreditation, then why should we respect you? And I'm saying this a woman to a woman. Respect yourself first so others can respect you. And if you don't want to do that, you're not going to grow.
So I love this. And so for our listeners, a couple of things. If you're watching this, I'd like you to pay attention to a couple things. One is Dawn's walking the walk, right? She's got a professional background behind her. She didn't show up in some cluttered room. She's dressed very professionally. Her hair's done. She's got a nice piece of jewelry on, but it's very clear that she's a professional. The other thing that she just said, and this is for men too, if you don't respect yourself, and women, ladies, what she just hit is, this is a golden nugget. If you're not respecting yourself, don't expect the world to respect yourself. It's never going to happen. And the way you show up is telling the world how to treat you and how to respect you, or how not to treat you, or how to not respect you. You said something earlier, and I'd like to put these two pieces together, especially for women. What would your coaching and advice be, Dawn, for the ladies because I agree with you. I believe we all have gifts, and our purpose in the world is to birth our gifts into the world, especially in business. What are your thoughts and coaching for women around, and this is going to be true for men too, around how you show up so that you're seen, so that your gifts are heard, right? So that your message is heard. It is not being muddled or muddied by the way you showed up.
Right. First impressions, we used to say this, first impressions speak louder than words, and it only takes 7 seconds to make a good first impression. And even less than that. Today, it's even 3 to 7 seconds. So let's say I was meeting you for the first time, Louie, and I saw something that I really liked, and I'm attracted to that. I'm going, wow, that you have something going on there. I might want to meet you. I want to go find out what you've got, what you know. I want to be introduced to you. You might be somebody intelligent that I want to talk to, versus somebody that's schlepping and it depends on your industry. I'm going to say that right now, but you might be schlepping in there with ripped jeans and half a crop top for women, or a dirty t-shirt or something like that. If you're even if you work on cars all day long, you've got to have a good t-shirt, or a good shirt, or a good pair of pants, or a good pair of jeans to wear to show up. So I'm going to look at people like, what do you do? Now, if you showed up in a t-shirt and pair of jeans, I'm going to think, well, maybe you are in the trades. Maybe you do something in the trades, or maybe you're in tech. I notice a lot of people show up in jeans and a t-shirt and tennis shoes, and they're in tech. Great, because they sit behind a computer all day long. But I'm going to share with your audience that you can go buy a button-up shirt, and you only need one, and use that every time you go to a networking event, because and look appropriate, look dressed up, shave, wash your hair, brush your teeth, get cleaned up like you're going to go on your first date for the first time. And that's with women too. Show, this is like courting. If you're going to be courting in a way, courting a significant other, what do? You dress to the hilt to meet somebody for the first time. Usually you do that. Men and women do that. That's how we have to treat networking, and that's how we have to treat meeting our first client for the first time. And think about every time you walk out that door, what you put on, you never know where your next client is going to come from. And I'm not saying put on a 3-piece suit. I'm saying look appropriate, act appropriate, and look like somebody you want to meet.
Yeah, and so it makes me, so I was cheering for you because you're absolutely right. It made me remember a networking event where, and now he was a trades guy, right? But he showed up in dirty jean cutoffs, an old concert T-shirt, and work boots with his socks rolled over the top of his work boots, and he was in a room full of business professionals, right? And at some point, I don't want you in my house. And this is what, to your point, whether you, and one of my businesses is a car business. I own a body shop, and I dress very well because you're not going to leave your BMW or your Mercedes Benz with me if I look like I just rolled in from a grease pit, right? You're not going to let me in your $1 million home as the plumber if I look like the guy in the cutoff jeans and the T-shirt. I think it's really powerful.
So
And you talk a lot about branding, and while we're on this topic, talk about how the importance of how their people are dressing when they leave the house to match their brand.
Definitely. Your brand, depending on what your career is and what your background is, your brand is important in how you should, represent your brand. So I'm going to go back to you being in the car business. You probably wouldn't go into work and wear a 3-piece suit. That might be a disconnect. Whereas if you were a lawyer, you wouldn't go in with a T-shirt and a pair of jeans on. That might be a disconnect. That's branding. That is branding. And again, I've met 2 lawyers. One on this side and one on this side. One sells to $1 million, customers, and the other one sells $1 million customers. However, and I'm originally from Minnesota, so I'll share this little scenario with you, is there's a river that divides St. Paul and Minneapolis. And the Minneapolis side was new money, and the St. Paul side was old money. So the gentleman on the side of the St. Paul side, I asked him, or he asked me a question about what he thought of the way he dressed. And we had this conversation, and he came back. He says, my customers like it the way I dress. I go to Costco and buy my shirts and my pants and stuff. And I looked at him and I said, great. You know who you are. You represent your clients in a way they know who you are. And if that works for you, that's great. But you've already, what's the word I want to say? You already cleaned that space. I bet you didn't start off that way. And then the other guy over here, he was in a suit and a tie and great shoes, and he looked the part of the $1 million on the other side, the Minneapolis side, the new money. So that's branding right there. And for women, it could be color. It could be, when I speak with women, I always say, hey, you've got 3 to 5 words that represent who you are. What are they? And if you don't know, we dig deep into finding out what these words are so you can show up like that. So these 3 to 5 words represent how you show up, how you want to be perceived, and how you want others to see you in a way that is authentic to who you truly are. So let's say you love hats, for instance, and every time someone sees you, you're in a hat. That's part of your branding. So you bring that out in your branding pieces or necklaces or color for that matter, a certain color. If your brand colors are blues, pinks, oranges, whatever, you bring that brand color out in your branding. And I love how excited you're getting.
Well, well,
But this
well,
is so
because
true.
it's so true, it's so powerful, and these are golden nuggets for our audience because it's also so simple and relatively inexpensive, right? You could, for ladies, you could, everywhere you go up, you could wear a scarf. And so that's going to be your brand. People are going to know you. That scarf could be a specific color or have some sort of specific color in it. You could wear, I knew a lady once that she always wore a brooch or a pin all the time. And it wasn't always the same one, but it was always an angel. So she always had a little angel on whatever outfit she was wearing. That was part of her brand. And so it's not that hard. It just takes a little bit of thought. And I love what you said. The reason why I keep cheering, because you're just hitting them out of the park here. And it's not that hard. Truly, people, I don't know why people don't get this, but it's not that hard to figure. These are my company colors. So you can see mine. Often when I speak in front of big crowds, I have a light blue shirt with a yellow or gold tie. Hello, I just show up in my brand, and I didn't have to buy anything special. I just, when I was picking shirts and ties, I picked shirts and ties that are the color of my brand when I'm speaking in front of a room. Not that difficult. I'd like to, I'd like to ask you, can you share a time in your life or in your business life when you felt invisible, and what did you do to help kind of regain your confidence, your voice, and be seen again?
Oh. Well, I've had many of these where I've felt very invisible, but the last one that is so profound was back in 2006. And that's when I had built my business. I had earned the car, the title, the income, the team. I was on fire. I was at the top of my game. And then all of a sudden, shortly after that, everything fell apart. I lost it all. And through that, I had some self-reflection and asked a friend, like, why is it that everything seems to be falling apart? And she said, Dawn, she goes, you're not the same person you were 3 years ago when I met you. And I go, what are you talking about? And she said, you're turning into Cynthia, which was a leader in my business. And I just like took a step back and I felt like a dagger had just went through my heart. And I couldn't believe that what those words that she said were so painful and they hurt so bad. I thought, oh my gosh. Now I sat back, did some self-reflection, really, really, really came to this conclusion that I lost my identity. I was being molded into the version of this other person instead of molding myself into who I am, in my truth and my authenticity. And I had to get that back, both inside and out. So how do I show up authentic as Dawn and be into my true authentic self versus living someone else's dream? And again, we tend to do this in business, in corporations, everywhere we go. We tend to follow somebody else and act and behave and look and talk just like someone else. I had no idea I was doing this, to be honest with you. I thought I was being who I was. So, and it happened again when I moved here to Mesa, Arizona. I'm originally from Minnesota, as I said earlier. I had to start all over again. Who am I? My identity. I mean, I was very visible in Minnesota, very, very visible everywhere. Everybody knew me, it seemed like. And I moved here, I was starting all over again. So nobody knew who I was. And I had to find out who I wanted to show up now, being here in a very, very casual environment, living on a golf course in a golf community. Love it, don't get me wrong, but it took me a while to really figure out who I wanted to step into being here today. And I went through a new chapter in my life, so I had to readjust a little bit and figure it out. And also COVID hit. And that's when everything kind of went down the tubes too. Nobody wanted to dress up anymore. Nobody cared what they looked like. They'd be lucky if they showed up online, whether they brushed their teeth, combed their hair, and put clothes on for that matter. And I thought, oh man, I'm going to have to pivot. So, I had to find my own message. I had to reevaluate my appearance. The word's kind of coming out right. Appearance. And also, all of that helps with your energy because once you know who you are energized to go out and be your true, authentic self and live the life you want to live and really, really teach what you know to others.
So that's very, very powerful. So for our audience, she hit on a couple of golden nuggets. And one of the things is be authentic. And that's a lot easier said than done, much like integrity. But one of the things I do some coaching for speakers, and one of the things I tell them is be authentic, genuine, and transparent, and you're going to be fine. I'd like you to ask you what's your recommendation, especially for, well, this isn't even a male-female thing either. What's your coaching and suggestion for people who are going out into the world to really, truly do that, to be authentic? What would you say to them?
Yeah, that's one of the hardest things I have learned myself. And you think you're authentic and sometimes you're not. You're molding yourself into something that you're not. Just be who you are. If you're goofy, be goofy. If you are a jokester, be a jokester. If you're, if you're if one of your words is elegant or edgy, be edgy, do something. That's why I think those 3 to 5 words that I work with my clients on in coming up with, I help them dress the same way as those words come out. So when somebody looks at you, they say, oh my gosh, I know who you are. And I'm attracted to that because that's what you want. You're going to magnetize the people towards you that you are meant to have. And if you're all polished all the time, you're gonna attract those polished people that want what you have. And I do, but it's more about now what I do is I've learned everything. I mean, my background is in hair, makeup, skincare, image, clothes, you name it. That's my background. So I can't unlearn it. I know it. So
Right.
that's what I do. But authenticity comes from the heart. It comes from your soul. It's just being you. It's one of the hardest things that people have a hard time with because I did too. Why does everybody got to know everything about me? I don't get it. Why do you care? Well, they want to hear your voice. They want to know if you're kind. They want to know if you're trustworthy, if they can respect you, if they trust you. So that know, like, and trust factor, that's what we're looking for. And
Right.
I've so many people that I can look at you and say, there in my intuition always tells me there's something off. There's something off. There's something that you can't trust about somebody because they're not telling you the full truth or they're not showing up as their authentic self. And I just started stepping into being me. It's like whatever comes out of my mouth comes out of my mouth, and if people don't like it, that's the way it is. But I say it as is, but with tact. But sometimes I'm not tactful sometimes, but hey, it's on my casual days. It's not when I'm working with people. But I also tell my clients that you came to me for a reason. I am not a fluffy person. I do not fluff. So don't expect fluff. You don't pay me for fluff. You pay me to be honest and truthful. Right. But I do it with a loving heart because I care and I want you to get where you want to go.
Yeah. And so again, she's dropping just golden nuggets all over the place. And I want the audience to catch a couple things that she just said. One is that those words, I also like to help, I call them core values, right? Are you fun? Are you living in integrity? Are you living in love? Those are some of mine. And so you dress like that, and that's who you decide to be. And when it's hardest is when the proverbial stuff hits the fan, right, Dawn? Is when you're challenged or somebody's up against you and they're pushing back. Then you have to remember, oh yeah, I'm kind, I'm considerate. But this is the thing I want everybody to catch. Ladies, you are much more connected to this as an average than the men are, and that's a thing called intuition. And Dawn hit this up, the nail on the head. When she feels it, right? And this is not a head thing. Guys, if you can get back to your heart, this will become a very powerful tool. Ladies, most of you still have this. A guy walks into a room and you feel that he's not a good guy. He didn't have to say anything. And he could be dressed to the nines, right, Don? He could be in an Italian suit, Italian leather shoes, a silk tie. He could be dressed for a big business meeting, but your gut's telling you this guy's not no good. And so I'd like you to talk about how when you're coaching with people, how do you share with them to go to that place, to trust their heart and get out of their head? Because often we'll see the guy well dressed or the lady well dressed and think, oh, I want to interact with them, like you were saying before. I want to have a conversation with them, or I'd like to learn more. I'd like to do business with them. What are your thoughts around that, and how do you coach your clients for that?
Well, like I said earlier, if I saw you and you were dressed to the hilt, and I mean, if I was attracted to that, attracted to your first impression, made me want to say hi and come up and greet you. You want to put your listening skills on. Open up your ears and start listening very actively about what's coming out of their mouth. How are they communicating with you? Do they, engage with you, or do they just kind of talk about themselves the whole time, or their business, or what they want to sell you? I don't like to be sold to, and neither does anyone else. And I know right away that's a big turnoff for women, and that's a big turnoff for anybody for that matter, because men don't like it either. But for the most part, if you have good energy, if you have really good energy, and that flows to the rest of your body from top to bottom, inside and out, people are not going to not want to talk to you. You're magnetizing that. And that's what
Right.
you want to do. And how do you get there? Is just listen, pay attention, be intuitive about what you're seeing and what you're hearing, and what is a turnoff and what's not. Now, if the person says something real genuine to you, you might say, gosh, let's have a conversation afterwards. I'd love to carry this conversation in offline or in another place, if that's okay with you. Especially women to women. Women need, I'm going to say this in a very nice but strong way, they need to stop beating up each other. And we need to love each other and care for each other and support each other. There is enough money to go around in this world. There's enough clients to go around in this world to build your organization. You don't need everybody. You need the ones that know, like, and trust you.
And so, okay, yeah, I love you. You're hitting this thing out of the park. I'm serious. So I want everybody to catch what she just said, because this is some wisdom that I share. There are currently about 9 billion people on the planet. And she's right. There's enough clients for everybody. There's enough money for everybody. Stop trying to cut everybody else's throat and be so competitive and backstabbing, because it doesn't accomplish anything. And also, Dawn, you said something earlier that I want to kind of echo back to. And Dawn said that if you're dressing your brand and showing up in authenticity, you're going to attract the people that are meant to work with you, because you're not meant to work with everybody. You couldn't work with a million clients, which is just an iota, a drop in the bucket of 9 billion people. You couldn't handle a million clients. And so you want the clients that are really suited and meant to be working with you. And one of the things I think, Dawn, is our business is our spiritual practice, right? And so we get to just show up present and authentic and come from our heart because of that. And I think a lot of people have lost track of that as well. What is, how does owning your appearance, voice, and presence lead to stronger leadership and more aligned business results?
Oh, good one. Well, when your outer presence matches your voice and how you show up, then it all aligns. You are more trusted, you have more clarity about who you are, and your appearance speaks before you do. Your voice carries with authority, and your energy creates connection, and you're bound to get more clients that way. You're bound to create and magnetize more people to you. And the one thing is, you said something about speak from your heart. Your heart is your gift. And if you can't speak from your heart, then you are blocking everything that comes towards you. You're not even sharing. You're not going to be trusted. Your heart should be protected. I mean, we've all been in situations where we've been hurt, and I've had my guard up many, many times, many years ago. My heart was blocked. I get it. I know what it's like. But the only way people are going to come to you is you got to get clear that not everybody is mean and cruel and out there to get you. You've got to open up your heart. And once you open up your heart, you're going to see how you attract other people to you. And that's networking, business, your personal life, your friendships, your community, everywhere you go. It's going to be more life that you're going to have around you. Again, everything, your appearance speaks before you do. So always show up. And when I say, even if you're in a t-shirt and jeans and you're out walking your dog, because I'll be dang, I don't look like this when I walk my dog, that's for sure. But always, always look like you care. Look like, smile. Be engaging with people. And I've met so many of my friends walking my dog. That's how I meet people. And we know the dog's names more, more than we know the people's names, but we get to know that. It's like, hey, okay, let me coordinate your name with the dog name so I get to know it better. And yes, I've actually gotten business out of it, to be honest with you. So that, for leaders and entrepreneurs, that aligns. Become your brand. Just be your brand at all times. At all times. And that doesn't mean always wear your brand colors, but when you're doing business, wear your brand colors. If you're speaking, wear your brand colors. Show up wearing your brand colors. But speak from your heart and be heartful. Heart-centered.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And one of the things that you said, I think is very powerful. How do you recommend that when people are out meeting people, that they connect heart to heart?
Well, you can tell. I mean, I just over the holiday here, we had an Easter holiday here. I reached out to people I haven't spoken to in a long time and wished them a happy Easter. That's coming from my heart. Even today, I sent a message to somebody I haven't seen for a while, and she was laid up. She hurt her back, and she's really young, by the way, and she could barely walk. And the last I heard that she couldn't. She had to walk with a walker and sometimes had to be in a wheelchair. I reached out to her. I think of people, I pick up my phone, I just send them a really quick message and say, hey, thinking about you today. How are you doing? And just heard back from her prior to getting on this call with you. And it's just speaking directly to them and also just being nice, helping out. If you can say, hey, if you need help need somebody to watch your dog, I'll watch your dog. And that's in anything you do. If you're a mom and you're home with your kids, if you're meeting other moms, maybe there's some reciprocity there where you watch their kids, they watch your kids. It's what you do unto others, they do unto you. And that's the golden rule, isn't it? And I think we lost that somewhere down the road. We really, truly did. And I think just a smile today goes a long ways.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I share with people that, it's not that hard to change the world. Just smile at somebody and say, good morning.
Yes.
It's really just that simple. And I also think that some of the connections that I've made over the years has been volunteering, right? For a charitable event of some sort that's near and dear to my heart. And I think that that's the same thing. I also want our listeners to catch that what Dawn was talking about. It only takes a minute or two when somebody crosses your mind, they've crossed your mind for a reason. And it's amazing because I do the same thing, Dawn, and people will, when they message me back, whether that's a phone call, an email, or a text, they'll say, your message was so well timed today. I really needed that. But it didn't cross my mind or your mind or your heart, more importantly, for no reason. It crossed your heart or your mind because you're supposed to reach out to them today. And I call it the BFO, right? Blinding flash of the obvious. When we get inspiration, and I've learned that the faster we act on that inspiration, the faster more inspiration comes. And when we don't act on that inspiration, it slows down.
That's true.
So that leads me to another question I wanted to ask you. What are some of the biggest ways women unintentionally shrink back down or downplay their value in leadership and business?
Ooh, that is, that's, I see this every day. Every day I walk out of my house. I see it when I'm walking down the street and taking a walk. I see it when I go to networking events. I see it everywhere. Let's just talk about, let's just talk about walking into a networking event first. When I see people coming into a networking event, especially for the first time, they walk through the door and their shoulders are up and their head is down, their phone's in their hand, and they're texting and they're not even looking up. I see this all the time. Instead of knowing your intention when you walk in the room, why are you there? Walking in bravely without your friend hanging onto your side and making eye contact, and that's the biggest thing, make eye contact with somebody. I'm very aware of my surroundings when I'm in places. Like, I will notice somebody that might be looking around and I already know what they're looking for. Maybe they're looking for the bathroom, or maybe they're looking for, where do I find this such and such? I already know that, and I'm ready to say, hey, you look like you're lost, or you look like you need to, you're looking for something, may I help you? And just offer your help. But when we shrink, we're shrinking our confidence, and we're showing people that we're not confident in ourselves. And also when you're asked, well, what do you do? Or what brought you here? And you go, oh yeah, my friend decided, asked me to come and she thought this would be a good event for me. Well, great. Well, what did she tell you about the event? My friend said, this would be a great event. Do you see the difference in my voice and my tone? This would be a great event to attend. And this is, I thought I should show up, and I'm interested in meeting some new people. Well, great. What do you do? How can I help you? I might not say, what do you do? I might say, hey, other than your work, what do you like to do for fun? And that's another way to break the ice. So if they're not prepared to say their 30-second commercial, because a lot of people aren't, because it never comes out of their mouth the right way. And you're going, can you tell me more about that? But another one is saying, does this make sense? After you said something, does this make sense? You're shrinking yourself. You should know it makes sense, whether it makes sense or not. Now, Louie, you're looking at me like with a little stern, like, do I understand what you're saying? And I might look at you and say, does he understand this? And that's what makes people say, does this make sense? No, what you're doing is you're really listening, and you're hearing, and the things that are coming out of my mouth are really resonating with you. So you don't have to make sure it makes sense. If anyone needs clarification, they can raise their hand. Put it that
Right.
way.
They can ask. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, and again, back to making eye contact, that's another one that I speak loudly on, is make eye contact with people. And sometimes it's really hard. Don't stare. I'm not saying stare. Men do this a lot. They stare. I know my husband does it, and I have to hit him sometimes. Don't stare. You can look. You don't have to stare. It gives people a complex. It makes them feel uncomfortable. Just look away, look back, make eye contact, smile, put a smile on your face. But stop shrinking, stop thinking less than. There's a woman that I know very well that she does two things. She's a hypnotist, and she's also does a lot of tech. But when I see her and she gets on stage and she starts talking, her shoulders go up and her head goes down. And she's very intelligent, very funny, very, very casual, nice, everything. She's got it all going on, except for this, is put your shoulders down, head up, relax, and get into it and move into it. And stop fiddling with your clothes. If you're fiddling with your clothes, that's another thing that tells me you're not confident. It shows me that you lack confidence in yourself or what you put on today. And if it doesn't look good and you don't look sharp in the mirror when you walk out that door, change. Put something on that you feel comfortable in. So take the focus off of this and put it on your message.
Yeah, very, very powerful. And again, I'd like our listeners to know Dawn's dropping some great wisdom here. And one of the things, I just spoke recently to a boys and girls volleyball team at a private high school. And what Dawn was talking about, for those of you that are listening and not watching, she put her shoulders up underneath her ears. And when we do that, we're tensing and tightening our body. And when we tighten our body, it doesn't perform as well as it does when it's relaxed. And it's also sending a signal to your brain, right? And that's where this whole thing starts, where you pull your shoulders up underneath your ears, that you're not relaxed. And again, Dawn said something earlier that I'd like to, again, bring this full circle, and that is people like to do business with people they know, like, and trust. You're not trustworthy if you're not confident, and if you can't look somebody in the eyes. And there's lots of ways to practice this, and we don't have time to delve into all that today. But Dawn's also hit on something that's very, very powerful, and that's the importance of listening. Dawn, what would you share with people on tips that they can use to be better listeners?
I like to say this. First of all, zip the lip and open your ears and listen. When you're speaking to somebody, you want to be speaking to them and not looking all over the room. You do not want to be looking at your phone. You do not want to be looking at something else or fidgeting with something. You want to be intuitive and intentionally to listen to who you're speaking to and listen to what they're not saying. This is the biggest gift you can give somebody, is to listen to them. They want to be heard. Everybody wants to be heard. They have something to share, and you ask them a question.
Can you hold your for a second?
Sure.
Can you hold your thought? Okay, Dawn just hit another one out of the park. She's absolutely correct. Everybody, the greatest gift you can give somebody is your undivided attention, your presence in that moment. Nothing else should be more important. Not anybody else in the room, not your cell phone. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I don't want that to be missed, because that creates rich, deep relationships when you can show up and be present with that person and be paying attention to what they're saying, not what you want to say as soon as they stop talking. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's just brilliant wisdom, and I don't want it to go unnoticed.
No, thank you for bringing that, because and you said something very valuable. It is creating relationships. Those are going to be your most valuable relationships, because they know that you listened and you had opened your heart and your ears and listened carefully about what they said. And that's valuable, because we don't get that very often, because we're always this fly by night, even at home in your personal life, maybe say something, but your significant other doesn't hear you or something, or what was that? And you're always going back and forth. No, listening is huge. Another way that you could definitely, I forgot your question already, is to be heard. What was your question at the beginning?
The question was tips on how to be a better listener.
Yes. So that was number one. And another way is always repeating back what they said, giving them some context back. Say, Louie, this is what I heard you say. If I'm right, let me know. If I'm wrong, let's clarify this. And always repeating back what they said, so they know you heard them correctly. Don't make up something they didn't say. Really because if you do that, then they know that you weren't listening. You were trying to make up some other thing. So those are my two top tips right there.
And so now I'd like to put this together with where Dawn started. And that is, if you do those two things, you show up dressed to impress, to your brand, and you pay attention and you listen and be present with them, you're going to make an impression. They're going to remember you because of those two things alone. So do you have, well, hang on. I got another question here I'd like to get to, and then I'll come back to that. What does it really look like to lead with love in business, in brand, and in how we show up every day? And this is, based on the name of the podcast, this is just my sweet spot, talking about leadership and love. So how would you recommend that? And what do you do or teach your clients to show up that way?
Right. First of all, what we have said earlier is you want to get up like you're really going to go out and make a difference in the world, whether in your business, community, whatever it is. So how do you do that? You want to love yourself first. How do you do that? Stop looking in the mirror and making fun of yourself and making jokes about yourself, and stop making comments about yourself like how ugly, how old, how horrible, how fat. Stop it. Say, I love myself, or you look beautiful today. It is very hard to do, but you know what? I'm going to tell you it works because I've done this work. I've done this work and this work works. And when you can love yourself first, then you'll be able to love others. If you can't do that, you're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. And your business is not going to grow, and you're not going to meet new people because you're always going to be shut off. You need to think about how you want to show up, how you want to present yourself, and who you want to serve today. And when you can do that, I guarantee you the work is going to come to you.
Yeah. So again, Dawn, I love you. I love your heart. Dawn just said something, and I can tell you that I'm a fan. I learned it from Louise Hay. It's called mirror work. And Dawn just touched on something. It's not easy when you start, but you stand in front of a mirror and you start telling yourself, I like myself. I love myself. I'm fun. I'm funny. I'm smart. Whatever you want to be in the world. This goes back to that image thing, right? How are we showing up? And I like our audience to know this. Dawn and I did not talk about mirror work. We did not know the other one did mirror work. But you're hearing two different testimonials about how important it is to stand in front of a mirror and like and love who you see. That's you. Because you can't go out in the world and be light and love and happiness and joy and attract clients when you don't like what you see in the mirror. Very, very powerful, Dawn. Very powerful. And that's one of the reasons why I love doing this podcast, right? Because these kind of things, they just turn up the way they're supposed to turn up. At this point, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Yes. If you're going to go out and lead, well, first of all, let me share this. If you're showing up, you're a leader already. So you're a leader no matter if you have a team or if you're a solopreneur or whatever. You are a leader when you show up. That's the biggest number right there. One, it's important to lead with integrity, because if you don't have integrity, you have nothing. Two, be authentic. Be true to yourself, because when you're true to yourself, other people will be true to you and they will know, like, and trust you. And two, look the part at the part and behave the part. And when you can do that, people will resonate with you all over the place. It's not just, like I said earlier, it's not about wearing a three-piece suit or, decked out in diamonds and jewelry. And that's not what I'm talking about. And I don't say look like $1 million. You can look like $1 million with a $100 outfit on. I've done it and it looks great. So really, it's not just about your clothes. It's about who you are from the inside out. The outside is our first impression. The inside is what really tells people who we really truly are. And I've had great leaders in my life, and I've had not so great leaders in my life. And guess who I remember? I remember the great leaders. So if you want to be a great leader, start with that. Otherwise, you're not going to grow. And you're never going to be a good leader.
Yeah, and I can tell you that, again, I love your message. Love, love, love your message, because I say the same thing. I don't care who you are, what you do, you're a leader. Somebody's watching you. Somebody's looking at you as a role model. Even if you're pumping gas at the gas station, somebody's watching you, right? Are you out there swearing on your cell phone or like you said, I see people leave their house in sweat clothes, right? Like sweatpants and an old sweatshirt. And I think, oh, for the love of God. And, but really, because we're all leaders. I really completely agree with you, and I love those steps. Dawn, one of my favorite questions I ask before we end is, what's a book that you would recommend for our listeners that you think is a game changer that had a big impact on you?
One of the books that I pulled this out, it's called The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. And I will share, there's a chapter in that I had read in there. If you don't feel, that you're doing enough in the world, or you're good enough, or you don't believe in yourself or whatever, take a sheet of paper and write 100 things on this sheet of paper, and of everything that you have accomplished in your life. So you can even start as soon as you rode a bike. You 3 years old, 4 years old, you rode a trike, you got on a two-wheeler, then you fell off and you got back up again. You can start. That's an accomplishment, right? And then everything that you've done up until this point. And when I did that, I read that and I go, oh my God, I can't even believe that I've done all this myself. And it energizes me and excites me and it keeps me moving forward and say, okay, I'm not done yet. What's next? What is next? But if you look back at all the accomplishments you made in your life, that will light you up on the days that you don't feel like you want to get out of bed, or you want to say the nice things in the mirror, or you want to meet your new client, or you want to go to work, whatever. If you have it by your nightstand, read it when you get out of bed, get energized for the day. And there's so many other motivating things out there that you can read, but that's one book that I do pick up every once in a while, and I look in the chapter, and that chapter will be speaking to me that day. And those little exercises are great.
Yeah, so I got to tell you, this is just a whole God thing, right? Because that's one of my favorite books. That's the book that really started to turn my life. A good friend of mine, knew I was starting to get into personal development and I wanted to grow and get better. And the book they gave me was Jack Canfield's The Success Principles. And it's truly a game changer. And I've done that exercise. And so I'd highly recommend to our listeners, I always want you to, and Dawn's given you just a plethora of things you could take away from today and you could put into action immediately. And that would be one of them. Sit down with a piece of paper and write 100 things you've done. You graduated from the first grade, the second grade, the third grade, right? You know how to read, you know how to write. There are people that don't know how to read and write, right? There's people that don't know how to make a paper airplane. There's people, you know how to cook, you know how to tie your shoes. I mean, the list is just endless when we think about all the things that we've learned and had success at. So that'd be a great exercise for our listeners. And man, you made my heart go pitter patter all through this whole conversation. It's been just wonderful. Well, we could probably go on for another hour or two, but for the sake of time, how can our listeners, if somebody, especially the ladies in the audience, how can they get a hold of you to learn more about you or possibly work with you? What's the best way to get a hold of you, Dawn?
You can email me at dawn@dawnstebbing.com. You can go to my website, dawnstebbing.com, and check me out, and you can sign up and to have a conversation with me there also. And then I also have a lead magnet on my website and the visibility code that you can actually pick up. And if you're interested in my lead magnet, the visibility code, you can just email me and I will send you a copy of it.
Great. That's very generous of you. Thank you. And for our listeners, she's spelling her last name Stebb, boy, ing. Dawn, the normal spelling, Dawn, Stebbing. And we'll also put that in the meeting notes. So if you want to track her down, it's going to be fairly easy. Dawn, I really, really appreciate you taking the time. I'm truly grateful for you sharing your wisdom and your heart. And I hope you have an enjoyable afternoon. And I'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you, Louie. It was a pleasure. Have a great day.
Thanks again for joining us and listening to this episode of Leadership and Love. I would like to challenge you to ask yourself, what's one thing that you heard today that you can implement immediately to improve your leadership and accelerate your growth? If you've gotten value out of this episode or learned something that you can implement today, we'd ask that you please share it with those that you care about. Our goal is to create more leaders who are leading with love.